Hey everyone, at this point you've probably seen the headlines about Atlas Trading, the $100 million pump and dump scheme, Zach Morris, one of the major figures on Twitter, the SEC and the DOJ cracking down, and in this video we're going to look at what happened, how did it happen, and most importantly, what can we learn from this situation. So there's a few good Twitter threads about this topic, and one of them from ES Invest here, and I'm going to link them in the comments of this video if you want to do further digging and you can see, the pictures and read the actual statements that they were making to each other. But long story short, I was following Zach Morris all of 2021. Number one, just the entertainment purposes of having my mind blown that an individual was doing this and so arrogantly. He was tagging the SEC in some of his posts, taunting them almost to come and get him, which obviously in hindsight seems like a very poor decision. But you can read, the transcripts of what they were saying to each other and a lot more details, but very superficially, Zach Morris, this individual, and I believe 7 other individuals have been named in the complaint from the SEC. A bunch of them arrested, a bunch of them out on bail, many properties being seized. Here's another thread from Margot Rubin. You can see the properties that are being seized. And essentially what they would do is they would in advance load up on a low cap penny stock, and they would put out the pick. They would give an absurd price target. They would give some, few sentences on the fundamentals, clearly fundamentals having nothing to do with it, but they would then sell, and the data can show you that many times they would give a price target and say that they bought and sell minutes later into the buying pressure of the individuals that were following them. And there were millions of followers if you add up all of their accounts. And so it was very significant. Pump and dumps are nothing new. This has been happening for decades. The Wolf on Wall Street is definitely a story that is similar. Back in 2013, 2014, I was trading penny stocks, and on iHub, Investors Hub, one of the main pumpers there was Money Runners, and Hot Stock Ace was the individual, and they were busted for doing the exact same thing. So that was almost a decade ago, and nothing new about this. But what makes this story so prominent is the size. $100 million is certainly a very significant amount of profits, and just the fact that it was so prominent. Many people know who these people are on Twitter because they were being shoved in front of our faces. The reason they were being shoved in front of our faces has a lot to do with the Twitter algos. It has a lot to do with the market environment. We'll talk about that a bit more in just a moment as to how this was able to be pulled off. But what it was just a classic pump and dump, nothing new, and certainly something that could potentially see a Netflix documentary in the near-term future because of the prominence of these individuals and the fact that so many people know who they are and observed what they were doing. So how could this have happened? From the outside looking in, it's very easy for people to point and say, well, anybody falling for that is an idiot. But that's coming from people who have been in the markets for multiple years. We've learned from our mistakes. We've seen pump and dumps play out. We have a lot more experience. We have to keep in mind that when COVID happened, we had a ton of people out of work and at home. We had a lot of people starting to get interested in markets for the first time. Dave Portnoy, Wall Street Bets, GameStop, all this stuff was going on, bringing in a younger generation to the markets that have never been interested in them before. They were learning on the fly. I made a ton of mistakes in my first year of trading. I learned what a pump and dump was. I learned what sell the news meant. These are all things that we have to go through and learn. So you had an influx of a huge amount of new individuals into the market, a bunch of individuals that were uncertain about their future financially. They don't like their 9-to-5 grind. They see other people making money. They want to do it too. Yes, there's greed involved. Yes, it's definitely an aspect of gambling, but it was just a bunch of new people being exposed to these Twitter personalities. It's also Twitter at fault to a certain degree. I was trying to get a blue check mark for TheChartGuys for years. Denied, denied, denied. Yet here you have a trader whose profile is a parody account of a Saved by the Bell character, and they get a blue check mark. They probably paid for them. That's speculating a bit, but the fact that they all had them is definitely raising a lot of red flags. But that blue check mark definitely helped convince new people that these individuals were more legitimate. So Twitter has a part in this as well. But if you fell for this, or if you, believed that they were being truthful, don't get down on yourself. There's definitely a lot that we can learn from this. And again, I made a ton of mistakes when I first started trading that in hindsight were very dumb. But the only way that we are able to learn from our mistakes is by making them and not repeating them. So let this be a lesson, and let's now look at all the things that we can learn from this experience. So what can we learn from this? There's a lot of individuals out there that feel like their trust has been abused. They feel like an idiot. And again, we have to learn from the mistakes, but just be more guarded. Take a step back and observe people rather than just diving in headfirst and believing everything you see on the internet. It doesn't mean everybody's a scam. It doesn't mean distrust everybody. It means observe for a significant amount of time. There's two kinds of people out there, and I'm a trader. I am a trader that sells courses and has a community for a paid membership. And so I am lumped in with a group of scammers that do the same thing. But there's ways to distinguish between the two. On one side, you will have people that are arrogant, people that are posting all their flashy gains and their nice things, and that are telling people what to do. And they're trying to create this sense of, if you do what I tell you, if you buy this thing now, you can have all these nice things that I have. And the other side, and again, there's a ton of helpful people out there on Twitter and on the internet. There are people that are focusing on education, the psychology, the process of how we succeed as traders. They are empathetic. You have to have empathy. Should say you can't have empathy and talk the way about other people that these individuals were doing behind closed doors. Longevity. You can put on a facade for a certain amount of time, a year, 2 years, but you can't put it on for 5, 7, 9 years. And when we first started putting out content, I got tons of hate and tons of skepticism in the first few years. And as every year has gone by, it's been less and less and less. And that's because now we can look back and say, hey, check out my 8 years of videos, 7,000 of them, that talk about all these different concepts of trading, that try and help people talk about, taking profit when there's euphoria in the cryptocurrency space, or taking profit when there's euphoria in the cannabis space. And you build up a reputation over time showing that you know at least a bit of what you're talking about, where it's feasible that maybe you can outperform the market over a prolonged period of time with the knowledge and experience that you have. But again, that comes through time. And a lot of the Chart Guys members that come to us, it's not, hey, I just came across your video, help me make $10,000. It's, hey, I've been watching your videos for 4 years now, and I've finally taken the leap to try and focus more attention on trading. And I love those kinds of members that come in, because I don't have to prove anything to them. They know who I am. They know what the Chart Guys are about, because they've been observing from a distance, and they have plenty of time to make judgments and to determine, what an individual is like. So that is the main takeaway. There's a lot of people right now on Twitter who are worried about the SEC. I have to stop posting my plays because the SEC is coming. Definitely want to be careful what you're saying out there, which again is why I don't give alerts in terms of buy now, sell now, because I do not have a license. I post what I am doing. I show what I am doing. But the SEC doesn't have the manpower or woman power to go after everybody. So they go for the high profile cases. What Martha Stewart was arrested for happens every single day in the market. But the SEC says, hey, if we can, make an example of Martha Stewart, send her to jail, it's going to reach everybody. Everybody's going to see that and say, uh-oh, I better not do this because this might happen to me. And so that's this instance as well. I mean, if you taunt the SEC, if you have millions of people watching you, you're a prime target to say, all right, the SEC takes out all these people, and it's a ripple effect of, hey, everybody else, you better stay in line, even though they don't have the resources to go after everybody. So it's a learning lesson. It's going to be a Netflix documentary at some point. And again, don't let this be a turnoff from markets, because anywhere that you have money, you have corruption, manipulation, greed. I mean, it's in religion, it's in government, it's everywhere that there's money. So it's just putting your guard up to be better at sifting through the good and the bad. Because when I was on the message boards, when I first started 12 years ago, if I did not come across some helpful individuals, I would not be a full-time trader right now. And I am thankful every single day that I was able to find the right people to pay attention to. So that's the summary of Atlas Trading. I appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to ask any questions, leave any comments, and we'll see you next video.